Joining me now, Coindesk Chief of Staff of Content, Pete Pachal. Pete, what do you make of these comments from Tim Cook?
Hey, good morning, Dagan. Tim Cook is a guy who often says he's looking at something, or Apple's looking at something, when he doesn't want to say anything. But he actually ended up saying quite a bit in his comments yesterday. So breaking it down, the news that Apple's looking at crypto, I mean, I think that's pretty clearly like they're going to probably be adding crypto services to their Apple Pay platform at some point. You just look at the market there. Services like PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, they all have these crypto ways for their customers to exchange crypto and transact. I think that's just sort of a no-brainer, and Apple at some point will inevitably add that. But he also said that you're looking at possibly doing other things with crypto, and that's a really cryptic statement. It'd be wildly speculative to know what to know what they're doing or think about what they're doing. But given how the NFT market has really just exploded, and that the creative set, it is one of the most important things that's happened to that community. Apple has strong ties to that community. I have to think they're at least thinking about somehow integrating NFTs with their platform.
How would that happen?
But he also said,
well, how would that happen?
Well, you could see like the idea of having an NFT and owning it. You could have like one of the biggest questions around it is like, where is that NFT actually stored, and what is the long-term viability of owning that NFT? That's a big question in the NFT market from a technical perspective right now. But Apple, with one of the biggest platforms in the world, could provide a decent answer for that in terms of storing your NFTs in the long term. But again, wildly speculative. I have no internal information on it. I just have to think, given the relevance of this to the creative community and Apple's strong ties with that community, I got to think they're at least thinking about it.
Francis, jump in here.
Yeah, so I just kind of wonder what you think about his comments about investing personally, but not being willing to invest Apple's corporate funds. I mean, I sort of agree that you shouldn't, inadvertently put shareholders at risk from crypto. But what do you think the future is as far as these tech companies investing? And what do you think about those comments?
Yeah, I think what Tim has laid out is essentially what a template for those more cautious tech companies that see these big gains in crypto, that see companies like Tesla and MicroStrategy going in, but don't want to essentially change the nature of their company by giving a large exposure to the asset itself. But they do see the viability of the market. They are people generally tend to be bullish on crypto. They personally invest. They get that level of support. An influential guy like Tim Cook coming out and saying he owns crypto, that lends a certain amount of legitimacy to the space. But the treasury question, I think until there are more viable proxies for the crypto market, things like ETFs, these investment products, which sort of have comprise several companies that have exposure to crypto, until there's more options there, I don't think you're going to see this happening en masse, simply because of the nature of the volatility of the market. We're seeing these all-time highs now in Bitcoin, Ether, and other coins. But we also know inevitably this is a roller coaster. It's going to come down at some point. And a lot of people just aren't up for that. A lot of investors don't have the stomach for that kind of up-down nature of the crypto market.
Bitcoin is hitting record highs, Pete. The cryptocurrency jumping over 68,000 this week, up 130% this year. You're talking about a roller coaster. Just broadly speaking, and just the inflation of all of these assets, just the unprecedented stimulus, monetary stimulus that we've gotten from central banks around the world, and just the spending by governments. It's really no way to know how overjuiced this asset, other assets are, and what might be the end game here.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of the rushing in the last couple of months, there's no question the idea of inflation, the idea of some other larger roller coaster of the economies potentially hitting a downward trend is fueling it to some extent. But generally, today, the crypto market of today is different from what it was a couple of years ago. There are more of those proxy investments. Like I mentioned, it is more mature. Right. We're seeing regulators starting to sort of give more legitimacy to the market. That Bitcoin futures ETF, passed through a few weeks ago. So it's happening, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. So, a lot of the people who are long on crypto are probably pretty confident that's going to, the market's going to have some long-term viability. But these short-term all-time highs, I mean, again, it can't kill on forever. This roller coaster will hit a dip, and the people who are rushing in now because of FOMO may regret it and be seared.
I just lived and worked through. I worked for TheStreet.com during the first .com boom and bubble, and there were some great survivors coming out of that, some great companies that were born in the 90s, obviously. But there are a lot of companies that went under quickly, and a lot of wealth was destroyed in that that initial collapse. So and it's just feelings, but it certainly feels like that, or looks like that in some way to me. Coinbase, Pete, reported earnings last night, beating earnings per share estimates, but missing on revenue. Stock dropped 13% in extended trading last night, down 9% in pre-market. What's your reaction to this?
Well, it's interesting to see that the earnings miss at the same time we're hitting all-time highs. And I think this is an indicator, first of all, that if you're looking to Coinbase as essentially your equities proxy for the crypto market, it's not a great one because it's a lagging indicator. So Coinbase didn't have a great quarter. Why? Because crypto didn't have a great summer. It's having a great time now, but we're not going to see those gain a good quarter potentially anyway until the next time they report earnings. So that's a big deal. But the other thing about Coinbase is that this volatility, this sort of up-down, the crypto market up, Coinbase up, crypto market down, Coinbase down, that's going to continue until they really have another revenue stream to better stabilize what their business model is. And so there is they wanted to launch a crypto investing product, so essentially something where you'd put your crypto up to earn interest on it over time. So you would sort of let them lend it out. And that was frowned upon by the SEC. They were actually going to sue them over it, so they had to pull back plans on that, which shows, again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. The regulators do want to play ball, but they're not going to do it on crypto's schedule. So Coinbase is probably going to have to endure this sort of yo-yo, good quarter, bad quarter, lagging indicator performance for a while until things mature a little more.
Pete, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. Pete Pachal.
My pleasure. Good to see you guys.